Marcus Thompson stopped reviewing the contracts and lifted his head, intrigued. From the other side of the presidential suite door at the Fairmont Chicago, someone was speaking on the phone in a language he immediately recognized: Japanese. The female voice sounded worried but fluent with the naturalness of someone who had grown up speaking that language. In 43 years of life, 20 of them building an empire in the automotive industry, rarely had anything surprised him so much. Marcus approached the door, curious. The woman was asking about a child with fever, and he caught the relief in her voice when she learned the medication had already been given. The fluency was impressive. This wasn't someone who had studied the language in a course, but someone who mastered it with familiar intimacy. He cracked the door discreetly and saw a woman in a blue custodial uniform putting her phone in her pocket. Brown hair pulled back in a simple bun, straight posture despite the humble nature of her work. She pushed a cleaning cart and stopped at the door next to his. "Housekeeping," she announced in English with a Chicago accent. The contrast was surreal. A cleaning lady who spoke fluent Japanese working at one of Chicago's most luxurious hotels. Marcus knew few Americans who mastered that language with such naturalness, and he desperately needed one. The next morning, his official interpreter had canceled last minute, leaving him without options for the crucial meeting with suppliers from Osaka. The automotive parts contract was worth $15 million, and the deadline was running out. He closed the contracts and walked to the window, observing Chicago at dawn. How many stories were hidden behind uniforms, professional smiles, and invisible jobs? How many wasted talents circulated through the corridors of the elite without anyone noticing? He picked up the phone and called the front desk. "Good morning. This is Marcus Thompson from the presidential suite. I need to speak with management about a cleaning staff member on the 5th floor. Any problem, Mr. Thompson?" "On the contrary. I want to meet her." Irusake Milena dried the sweat from her forehead while finishing organizing the cart. 3 more rooms and she could go home, pick up Emma from Mrs. Tanaka's house, and prepare their usual simple dinner. The routine comforted her. Wake up at 5, leave her daughter still sleeping, work from 7 to 3. Pick up Emma, dinner, put the girl to bed, and study until late. 2 years in this routine, since she discovered the pregnancy and Emma's father disappeared. Mrs. Tanaka and Kenji had welcomed her as they always did, caring for their adoptive granddaughter with the same love they had given her throughout her childhood. Elena Martinez, a woman in a business suit, approached down the hallway. "Yes, ma'am. Did something happen? Could you come with me to the front desk? Mr. Thompson would like to speak with you." Elena's heart raced. Thompson. She knew the name from the presidential suite, one of the hotel's most important guests. She had certainly done something wrong. Maybe yesterday's phone call. "May I know why?" "He didn't tell me, but he specifically asked to speak with you." Elena followed the woman through the elegant hallways, feeling small among the marble and chandeliers. Staff like her rarely stepped foot in the main reception area, much less were called by presidential suite guests. In the conference room, a man in an impeccable suit turned when she entered. Tall, graying hair at the temples, attentive eyes that seemed to evaluate everything quickly. "Elena Martinez?" "Yes, sir. Please have a seat." She remained standing, uncomfortable. "Yesterday around 3 in the afternoon, you answered a call in the 5th floor hallway." Her blood ran cold. It was about the phone after all. "Sir, I can explain. It was just a minute. My daughter was—" "You were speaking in Japanese." Elena blinked, confused. It wasn't an accusation, but a curious observation. "Yes, sir, I was." "Where did you learn?" The simple question carried a weight she couldn't decipher. Why would a millionaire businessman care about this? "From a family that raised me. Were from Japan." "Do you consider yourself fluent?" "Since childhood, sir." Marcus studied her for a moment, and she felt exposed, as if he could read her entire story just by looking. "I need a favor, Elena. A favor that could change your life." She swallowed hard, not knowing whether to feel fear or hope. "A favor?" Elena repeated, trying to process the words. Marcus gestured for her to sit, and this time she obeyed, her legs trembling slightly. "My interpreter canceled last minute. I have a decisive meeting today at 3 o'clock with Japanese executives from Osaka Motors. It's a $15 million contract." Elena stared at him, still not fully understanding. "I need someone who doesn't just translate words, but who understands nuances, gestures, what isn't said. Someone who knows the culture from the inside. Mr. Thompson, I'm a housekeeper. I've never done anything like this. But you speak the language as if you were born in Japan. Yesterday, when I heard you on the phone, I noticed something that professional interpreters sometimes don't have. Emotional connection to the language. Elena's heart beat irregularly. It was impossible. People like her didn't sit at negotiation tables. I don't have appropriate clothes, I don't know technical terms. That can be resolved. What can't be resolved is finding someone who masters the language like you do. Marcus leaned forward. How much do you make per month? $1,500, sir. Today, if you agree to help me, you'll earn $2,000. If the meeting is successful, I'll pay $4,000. Elena felt dizzy. $4,000 was equivalent to more than 2.5 months of salary. She could pay the overdue rent, buy clothes for Emma, get that medical exam she'd been postponing. But what if I mess everything up? A risk I'm willing to take. The question is, are you? She thought about Emma, about the fever the night before, about opportunities that had never knocked at her door. I accept. 2 hours later, Elena was looking at herself in the dressing room mirror, wearing a navy blue business suit that cost more than 2 months of her salary. You look beautiful, ma'am, said the saleswoman. Elena recognized herself and at the same time didn't recognize herself. The woman in the mirror seemed confident, professional. Marcus had insisted on accompanying her shopping. He was discreet, respectful, limiting himself to approving when necessary. Do you feel comfortable? He asked when she came out of the dressing room. It's strange, like I'm wearing a costume. It's not a costume, it's just a different version of who you already are. On the way back, he briefed her about the meeting. The Japanese executives were coming to evaluate suppliers for hybrid vehicles. His company had a technical advantage, but the Japanese valued personal relationships as much as competence. They'll test you too. Not just translation, but whether you understand protocol, respect, hierarchy. Mrs. Tanaka taught me that since I was little. About respecting elders, listening more than speaking, never making someone lose face. Who is Mrs. Tanaka? The woman who raised me. She and Kenji came from Japan in the 70s, opened an electronics store. They took me in like a granddaughter. Are they still alive? Mrs. Tanaka takes care of my daughter. Kenji died 3 years ago. Marcus fell silent. So, you're not just fluent. You lived the culture. I lived 2 cultures. Japanese at home, American on the street. At the hotel, Elena went to the bathroom to touch up her makeup. She looked at herself in the mirror and murmured, Kenji-san, if you're watching me, give me strength. At 3 o'clock, she was in the conference room next to Marcus. Her hands were trembling, but her posture remained erect. The door opened. 3 men in suits entered. The oldest, gray-haired, evaluated her with attentive eyes. Elena stood up, bowed to the exact measure, and said in perfect Japanese, Welcome to America. It's an honor to meet you. The man smiled for the first time since entering, and Elena knew the game had begun. The eldest executive responded to Elena's bow with a respectful nod. His eyes studied her for a moment before addressing Marcus in broken English. Mr. Thompson, this is your interpreter. Before Marcus could respond, Elena stepped forward in fluent Japanese. I am Elena Martinez. I will have the honor of facilitating our communication today. Please, feel free to speak in Japanese whenever you wish. The man exchanged a surprised look with his colleagues. In Japanese, he murmured to the executive beside him, She speaks very well. Perhaps better than the last American interpreter. Elena kept her expression neutral, but translated whispering to Marcus. He said they're impressed with my Japanese. Introduce me to them properly, Marcus asked quietly. Elena took a deep breath and began the formal introductions, following the rigorous protocol that Mrs. Tanaka had taught her. First the eldest, then by hierarchical order. Each name, position, and company pronounced with the precision that Japanese culture demanded. Yamada-san is Director of International Operations, she translated for Marcus. He has 40 years of experience in the automotive industry. Tanaka-san is Chief Engineer of Hybrid Product Development. Suzuki-san handles strategic partnerships. The Japanese exchanged glances again, clearly impressed with the cultural knowledge demonstrated. The meeting began with Marcus presenting his company. Elena translated simultaneously, but soon realized her function went beyond words. When Yamada-san slightly frowned during a technical explanation, she discreetly interrupted. "Mr. Thompson, may I suggest a break? I believe Yamada-san would like clarification about the production data." Marcus trusted her instinct. The break allowed the Japanese executive to ask questions he wouldn't ask publicly, avoiding embarrassment. "How did you know?" Marcus asked quietly. Kenji always said that Japanese rarely interrupt presentations, but there's a specific body language when something needs to be clarified. As the meeting progressed, Elena felt more confident. She didn't just translate, but offered cultural context, explained nuances that could be misinterpreted, softened expressions that would sound aggressive in Japanese culture. During a discussion about deadlines, Marcus said, "We need a definitive answer by Friday." Elena hesitated before translating. In Japanese, she communicated, "Mr. Thompson would very much like to receive your considerations by Friday, if convenient." Yamada-san nodded, visibly more relaxed with the respectful approach. "Why did you change my phrase?" Marcus asked during another break. Direct demands can sound disrespectful. They understand the urgency, but prefer to feel it as a request, not an order. The meeting extended for 3 hours. When it finally ended, the Japanese stood up with genuine smiles. Yamada-san addressed Elena directly. "Ms. Martinez, it was a pleasure working with someone who understands both our language and our hearts." Elena blushed slightly. "The honor was mine, Yamada-san." After the ceremonial goodbyes, Marcus and Elena were alone in the room. He leaned back in his chair, exhausted but satisfied. "You were incredible. You didn't just translate, you orchestrated the meeting. I just tried to do what Mrs. Tanaka taught me. That true communication goes beyond words. They're going to approve the contract, I'm sure of it." Elena smiled, but soon reality hit her. The fantasy was coming to an end. Soon she'd go home. To Emma. To life as usual. "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Thompson. It was extraordinary." Marcus observed her for a long moment. "What if I said it doesn't have to be just one opportunity? What if I said I have a much bigger proposal for you?" Elena's heart raced again. "What kind of proposal? What kind of proposal?" Elena repeated, feeling her heart accelerate. Marcus stood up and walked to the window, observing the movement of Chicago before turning to her. "My company is expanding international operations. We need someone who understands not just languages but cultures. Someone who can be a bridge between different worlds. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you a career. Intercultural Communication Assistant in the International Division. Salary of $6,000 monthly, meal allowance, complete health plan, and full scholarship to study international relations at Northwestern." Elena felt her legs go weak. $6,000 was 4 times what she earned at the hotel. The study scholarship would fulfill a dream she had buried when she discovered Emma's pregnancy. I don't have a college degree. I don't have corporate experience. You have something that can't be taught in university. Cultural intuition and emotional intelligence. The rest can be learned. Why me? Why not someone already graduated, experienced?" Marcus sat back down, his eyes fixed on hers. "Because today I saw you do something that professionals with decades of experience can't. You didn't just translate words, you translated intentions, feelings, entire cultures. That's rare." Elena remained silent, trying to process the magnitude of the offer. It was as if someone had opened a door to a world she only observed from afar. "I need to think." "Of course, but don't take too long. The position is yours if you want it, but I need an answer by Monday." Elena arrived home in the late afternoon, still wearing the business suit. Emma ran into her arms as soon as she opened the door to Mrs. Tanaka's small house. "Mommy, you're beautiful. You look like a princess." "What an exaggeration, my love." Elena laughed, kissing her daughter's forehead. Mrs. Tanaka appeared in the living room, drying her hands on her apron. Her eyes shone seeing Elena. "Our girl is different today. Did something special happen?" Elena told everything. The meeting with Marcus, the meeting, the proposal. Mrs. Tanaka listened in silence, nodding occasionally. "And what is your heart saying?" asked the lady when Elena finished. "It's confused. It's all so big, so scary. Kenji always said that the best opportunities come disguised as fear. Emma snuggled on the sofa between the two women. Mommy, are you going to work in a fancy place? Maybe, my love, but it would be very different from what we're used to. Can I wear pretty clothes too? Elena smiled, pulling her daughter closer. You're already the most beautiful girl in the world. That night, after Emma fell asleep, Elena stayed on the porch talking with Mrs. Tanaka. The night breeze carried the smell of home cooking and the distant sound of music coming from neighboring houses. I'm afraid I won't be able to do it, Elena confessed. People like me don't enter that world. People like you? Mrs. Tanaka raised her eyebrows. An intelligent, hardworking woman who masters 2 languages and raised a wonderful daughter alone. You helped me. We offered support. Who built this strong woman was you yourself. Mrs. Tanaka held Elena's hand. When we arrived in America, I had your fear. I didn't speak English, didn't know the customs. Kenji sold used electronics because he couldn't get a job as an engineer. But we accepted the challenge, and look where we got. You built a beautiful life, and you're going to build yours. Different from ours, but equally beautiful. Elena looked at the stars, thinking of all the nights she had dreamed of a different life. Now the opportunity was there, real, concrete. What if I fail? What if you fly? On Monday morning, Elena was at the reception of Marcus's business building. She wore the same business suit from the meeting, but this time felt less like a costume and more like a possibility. When she was announced, Marcus smiled, seeing her enter. So? I accept. He extended his hand to shake hers, but the grip was longer than protocol. Welcome to the future, Elena. She smiled, feeling for the first time that maybe she really belonged there. But she didn't imagine that the real challenge was just beginning. Elena's first day at Thompson Industries began with a tour of the office. Marble floors, glass partitions, impeccably dressed employees circulating with folders and laptops. Everything breathed efficiency and success. This will be your office, said Marcus, opening the door to a room overlooking Lake Michigan. Elena entered slowly, still processing that this space would be hers. Mahogany desk, ergonomic chair, landline phone, and latest generation computer. On the wall, a frame with an abstract painting that cost more than a year of her old salary. It's very beautiful. You seem haunted. A little. Yesterday I cleaned offices like this. Today you work in one. The difference is just perspective. A knock on the door interrupted the moment. A tall, blonde woman with Chanel glasses entered without waiting for permission. She wore a dress that cost more than Elena's car. Marcus, I need to talk to you about the German contracts. Of course, Patricia. But first, let me introduce you to our new intercultural communication assistant, Elena Martinez. Patricia looked Elena up and down, evaluating every detail. The smile she offered didn't reach her eyes. Pleasure. Patricia Williams, International Operations Manager, Harvard degree MBA from London. The message was clear. Elena extended her hand politely. Nice to meet you. Interesting. I didn't know we were hiring without a selection process. The embarrassment hung in the air like a heavy cloud. Marcus kept his voice firm. Elena was hired on proven merit. She facilitated closing the contract with Osaka Motors. Ah, the interpreter. How unusual. Patricia left the room, leaving a trail of expensive perfume and tension. Don't mind her, said Marcus. Patricia has her own problems. But Elena already knew she would have to prove her worth every day. At lunchtime, Elena went down to the building's restaurant. The tables were occupied by groups of executives, all talking about business, international travel, important meetings. She served herself and looked for an empty table in the corner. While eating, she listened to fragments of conversations around. The new girl from Marcus, is that one there? I heard she was a housekeeper. Must have other talents besides Japanese. Her face burned, but Elena kept her head high. She knew this type of gossip, just didn't expect to find it in a corporate environment. May I sit? Elena looked up and saw a young man with a friendly appearance, holding a tray. Of course. I'm Robert, from IT. I saw you on today's tour. Elena, intercultural communication. Cool. I also came from the bottom, if that's any consolation. Started as an intern 5 years ago. Son of a janitor, first in the family to go to college. Elena smiled for the first time that day. Thank you. Sometimes we need to remember we're not alone. Want some unsolicited advice? Always. Don't worry about what they say. Half the people here inherited their job or got in through connections. You got in through competence. That bothers them. That afternoon, Elena had her first official meeting. Marcus would introduce her to the international relations team. When she entered the conference room, 8 people stared at her with poorly disguised curiosity. Folks, this is Elena Martinez, our new intercultural communication assistant. She'll be responsible for facilitating our negotiations with Asian partners. A man with a gray mustache spoke up. What training does she have in the area? Native fluency in Japanese and proven practical experience. Marcus responded without hesitation. But what university? What specializations? Elena felt all eyes on her. The moment of truth had arrived. I don't have a college degree yet, she said, her voice firm despite the nervousness. But I'm enrolled in international relations at Northwestern, and my experience comes from 20 years living between 2 cultures. The silence that followed was cutting. Interesting, someone murmured. The meeting continued, but Elena felt the weight of judgment. Every question seemed like a test. Every answer was analyzed with a magnifying glass. When she left the room, Patricia was waiting for her in the hallway. Can I give some woman-to-woman advice? Sure. Be careful not to confuse opportunity with charity. Sometimes what seems like generosity can be something else. Elena looked her directly in the eyes. And sometimes what seems like concern can be envy. Patricia smiled coldly and walked away. That night, Elena arrived home emotionally exhausted. Emma ran to hug her, and Mrs. Tanaka immediately noticed her expression. How was the first day? Challenging. Some people don't believe I deserve to be there. And do you believe? Elena thought for a moment. I'm learning to believe. Mrs. Tanaka smiled. Then you're already winning the most important battle. 3 weeks had passed since Elena's first day at the company. She always arrived an hour early, left an hour late, and spent nights studying corporate reports and technical terminology in Japanese. Her desk was organized with military precision, specialized dictionaries, notepads, and a small photo of Emma smiling. Every document that passed through her hands received meticulous attention. Elena, can you come to my office? Marcus appeared at the door looking worried. She followed him down the hallway, noticing some curious glances from colleagues. In his office, she found 2 men she didn't recognize. These are the representatives from Kyoto Steel. They arrived yesterday from Tokyo for a meeting that was scheduled for next week. Any problem? The official interpreter can't come today. They don't speak fluent English, and I need to close the new engine specifications by tomorrow. Elena nodded, already understanding what she needed to do. When do we start? The meeting lasted 4 hours. Elena translated not only complex technical specifications, but also negotiated contractual details, explained cultural differences from both sides, and identified misunderstandings before they became problems. When the Japanese left, visibly satisfied, Marcus leaned back in his chair. How do you make this look easy? It's not easy. It's just necessary. The contract is worth $8 million. Without you, I would have lost it. Elena smiled modestly, but inside felt deep satisfaction. She was really contributing, making a difference. On Friday, Patricia called an international team meeting. Elena arrived punctually and sat in the back of the room. We have a problem with our Chinese partners, Patricia announced. They're questioning the Shanghai project specifications. We need someone who understands the Asian mentality to resolve this. Everyone turned to Elena. She felt the weight of expectation. Do you speak Mandarin? Patricia asked with a tone suggesting she expected a negative answer. Not fluently, but I can try to understand the cultural context of the issue. Maybe it would be better to hire a real specialist. Robert, who was in the meeting representing IT, spoke up. Elena solved the situation with Kyoto Steel this week. Maybe it's worth listening to her. Patricia seemed irritated with the intervention. All right, Elena, you have until Monday to present a solution. Elena spent the entire weekend researching. She called contacts from the Japanese community in Chicago, studied Chinese commercial protocols, and even consulted a Mandarin professor at Northwestern by phone. On Monday, she entered the meeting room with a complete presentation. The problem isn't technical, she began, confident. It's protocol. The Chinese felt disrespected because we changed specifications without consulting them first. In Chinese culture, this suggests distrust. And your solution? Patricia asked, clearly skeptical. An official video conference where Marcus formally apologizes for the communication failure, acknowledges their expertise, and proposes a more collaborative partnership in future changes. That's ridiculous. We're not going to humiliate ourselves because of cultural sensitivity. It's not humiliation, Elena replied, keeping her tone respectful but firm. It's diplomacy, and it can save a $12 million contract. Marcus, who had listened in silence, spoke. Let's try Elena's approach. The video conference happened on Wednesday. Elena coordinated every detail. Time respectful to the Chinese time zone, precise translations, and even suggested Marcus wear a red tie, lucky color in China. The strategy worked perfectly. The Chinese not only accepted the apology but proposed expanding the partnership. When the call ended, the room fell silent. Patricia looked like she had swallowed a lemon. Good strategy, murmured one of the managers. Excellent work, Elena, said Marcus, smiling openly. That afternoon, Robert appeared at her desk with 2 coffees. Congratulations. You just earned a lot of respect around here. And some enemies, too. You already had the enemies. Now you have allies. Elena looked around the office. Some colleagues greeted her with waves. Others still stared with suspicion. But something had changed. She no longer felt like an intruder. She was proving every day that she deserved to be there. When she got home that night, Emma ran to hug her as always. Mommy, you're happy today. I am, my love. Mommy had a very good day at work. I want to work with you when I grow up too. Elena kissed her daughter's forehead, thinking that maybe when Emma grew up she wouldn't have to fight so hard to prove she deserved opportunities. Maybe she could create a world a little more fair for the next generation. 2 months had passed since Elena started at the company. That Friday morning, Marcus appeared in her office carrying 2 coffee cups. Thought you might need extra fuel. Thank you. You didn't have to. He sat in the chair across from her desk, a gesture that had become common in recent weeks. How's the course? Challenging but fascinating. Yesterday we had a class on international diplomacy. And Emma, how is she handling the new routine? Elena smiled. Marcus always asked about her daughter. She's proud. She tells her friends that her mom works in a tall building. Children see the essential, don't they? Elena stopped talking when she noticed Marcus observing her with different intensity. It wasn't the professional look, but something warmer. Sorry, I'm talking too much about personal matters. You're not. I like hearing about your life. The moment was interrupted by Patricia's entrance. Marcus, we need to review the European contracts. Oh, Elena, can you bring us coffee? The request sounded like an order loaded with contempt. Before Elena could respond, Marcus stood up. Patricia, Elena is intercultural communication assistant, not a secretary. Of course. Sometimes I forget the new hierarchies. When Patricia left, Marcus turned to Elena. I apologize for that. You don't always have to defend me. I do. And it's not just for professional justice. Their eyes met, and this time Elena didn't look away. That afternoon, Elena's phone rang. It was Emma's school. Ms. Martinez, Emma has a fever. Can you come pick her up? Of course, I'm on my way. When she was leaving, Marcus intercepted her in the hallway. Everything okay? Emma's sick, I need to pick her up. I'll go with you. My car is faster than the bus. At school, they found Emma in the infirmary, pale but awake. When she saw her mother, her eyes filled with tears. Mommy, I didn't want to get sick. Elena picked her up, but Emma noticed Marcus standing at the door. Who is he, Mommy? He's a friend of Mommy's. Marcus. Hi, Emma. When I was little and got sick, my mom made a special tea. Do you want me to tell your mommy the recipe? Emma nodded, already more animated. On the way home, she fell asleep in the back seat. When they arrived at Mrs. Tanaka's house, Marcus helped carry Emma inside. Mrs. Tanaka, this is Marcus, my boss. Very nice to meet you, sir. Mrs. Tanaka studied Marcus with perceptive eyes, then looked at Elena with a discreet smile. Stay for dinner. I'll make that broth that always cured you. During the simple dinner, Marcus seemed genuinely interested in Mrs. Tanaka's stories about Japan. Emma, already feeling better, showed her drawings, which he praised sincerely. "You have a beautiful family," he said to Elena. "It's not really my biological family, but family isn't just blood. It's love, care, presence." At goodbye, Emma surprised everyone by hugging Marcus. "Thank you for taking care of Mommy at work." In the car, going back to get hers at the office, the silence was different, more intimate. Elena, "Marcus, They spoke at the same time and laughed, embarrassed. "You first," he said. "It's better not to mix things, work and other things." "What if I said that for me they're already mixed?" Elena felt her heart race but also fear grow. "It's complicated. It doesn't have to be." When they arrived at the parking lot, he stopped the car but didn't get out. "Elena, can I ask you a personal question?" "You can. Do you feel something for me beyond professional gratitude?" The direct question caught her off guard. She looked at him, seeing vulnerability behind the business confidence. "I do, but that scares me." "Why?" "Because I have a lot to lose." Elena's words echoed in the silence of the car. Marcus turned off the engine and turned to her. "Elena, do you think I would pose risks to your career?" "Not intentionally. But relationships between boss and employee, when they go wrong, it's always the woman who gets hurt." "What if I said it wouldn't go wrong?" "Nobody enters a relationship expecting it to go wrong." Marcus fell silent, seeming to struggle with himself. When he spoke, his voice carried vulnerability. "Can I tell you something I've never told anyone at the company?" Elena nodded. "I wasn't born rich. My father was a mechanic. My mother a housewife. I grew up in a rough neighborhood on the south side of Chicago." The confession completely surprised her. "How?" "I studied with scholarships, worked since I was 14. When I opened my first shop, I lied about my background to get wealthy clients. The lie grew along with the company." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to know that I understand where you come from, that I know what it's like to feel like you don't belong somewhere." Elena observed him with new eyes. Suddenly, certain attitudes made sense. The respect for humble employees, the ease in Mrs. Tanaka's environment. "Does anyone else know?" "Only my lawyer, and now you." "Why did you hide it?" "Out of cowardice, out of shame. Because it's easier to be accepted when people think you always had the right to be where you are." "And your ex-wife?" "Adrienne came from high society. Never knew. Our marriage was more social agreement than love." "Do you have children?" "No. She didn't want them. Said children would interfere with her career." The bitterness in his voice was palpable. Elena understood why he had been charmed by Emma. "I know it's risky. For you, for me. But I can't pretend anymore that what I feel is just professional." Elena's heart beat irregularly. It was no longer the rich boss interested in the poor employee. It was a man who understood her journey. "I also feel something for you. But I need time." "How much time?" "I don't know. I need to be sure I'm not confusing gratitude with love." "Can I wait? But can I continue showing that you're important? As friends who respect each other very much." Elena smiled. "That I accept." On Monday, the dynamic between them changed subtly. They maintained professionalism, but there was new intimacy in conversations. Patricia noticed immediately. "You two are very close lately," she commented during a meeting. "We work well together," Marcus responded. "Must be comfortable having someone so grateful around." The insinuation was venomous. Elena maintained her composure. Grateful and competent. The two things aren't mutually exclusive. That afternoon, Robert appeared with a conspiratorial air. "Can I give you a heads up? Patricia is spreading that you and Marcus have something beyond work. People will always talk. The problem is she has connections on the board, and Marcus's ex-wife still has company shares." Elena felt cold in her stomach. "What does that mean?" "That you need to be careful. Patricia isn't just envious, she's dangerous." That night, Mrs. Tanaka noticed her worried expression. "What happened?" Elena told about the gossip, about Patricia, about the risks, and about Marcus. Confused. "He showed me we're more alike than I imagined." "And does that change anything?" "It changes everything, but it also complicates everything." Mrs. Tanaka served green tea. "You know what Kenji told me the day we met? That true love doesn't avoid difficulties but faces difficulties together. What if the difficulties are too big? Then you'll discover if the love is big enough too. Maybe it was time to discover exactly how big what she felt for Marcus was. 3 weeks after the car conversation, Elena felt she had found a balance. Work flowed well. Her relationship with Marcus had developed into a respectful friendship, and she was beginning to feel really part of the team. That Thursday morning, she arrived at the office and found Robert waiting for her, visibly nervous. "Elena, I need to warn you. There's a board meeting today at 10. Your name was mentioned." "My name? Why?" "I don't know exactly, but Patricia asked to include a review of recent hires on the agenda." Elena's stomach contracted. At 10 o'clock, she was called to the main conference room. She had never been there. It was the company's sanctum sanctorum, where important decisions were made. 5 men in suits and an elegant woman stared at her when she entered. She recognized Marcus, who avoided her gaze, and Patricia, who smiled coldly. "Elena Martinez?" asked a white-haired man. "Yes, sir. I'm Richard Williams, board president. Please have a seat." Elena sat at the end of the table, feeling like a defendant before a tribunal. "We're reviewing some recent hires. You were hired without a selection process, correct?" "Yes, sir, due to urgent company need." "And what exactly is your academic background?" "I'm studying international relations at Northwestern. I don't have a college degree yet." Murmurs ran through the table. The elegant woman spoke. "I'm Adrienne Thompson. I have significant participation in this company." The surname confirmed Elena's suspicions. It was Marcus's ex-wife. "Mrs. Thompson, we've been informed that your hiring may have personal motivations." Elena's blood froze. "I don't understand." Patricia leaned forward. "Elena, there are rumors about your inappropriate closeness with the company president. This raises ethical questions. My relationship with Mr. Thompson is strictly professional. We have information that he drove you to pick up your daughter at school, had dinner at your house. That was kindness from a colleague when my daughter got sick." Adrienne smiled icily. "What a coincidence. Marcus never showed interest in children during our marriage." Marcus finally spoke, his voice controlled but tense. "Elena's professional performance speaks for itself. She closed important contracts for the company. Nobody questions her linguistic abilities," said Adrienne. "But there are ethical standards to maintain." Richard Williams drummed his fingers on the table. "Ms. Martinez, you understand our concern. Appearances matter in the corporate world." "I understand, sir, but I can guarantee there was never anything inappropriate. Maybe it would be better for you to look for opportunities elsewhere," Patricia suggested, "to avoid future embarrassments." Elena felt the world collapse. They had set up a perfect ambush. "Are you firing me?" "We're suggesting a friendly transition," said Richard. Marcus stood up abruptly. "This is unacceptable. Elena is an exemplary employee. Any personal insinuation is—" "Marcus," Adrienne cut him off. "Your vehement defense only confirms our suspicions." Silence weighed in the room. Elena realized that regardless of the truth, she had already lost. She stood up with dignity. "I'll present my resignation letter tomorrow." "Elena, no," said Marcus. "It's decided." She left the room with her head high, but inside she was shattered. That afternoon she packed her personal belongings. Emma's photo, the dictionaries, some reports. Robert came to say goodbye. "This is unfair. Everyone knows you work better than half the people here. Sometimes justice doesn't matter. You'll get another job easily. Not at the same level. Patricia will make sure of that." When she was finishing, Marcus appeared. "We need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about." "Yes, there is. I can fix this." "How?" "By marrying me to prove our relationship is serious." The sarcastic question came out before she could control herself. Marcus fell silent. "Sorry. I didn't mean that." "Maybe you did." She finished packing her things. "Elena, this won't stay like this." "Yes, it will. You have a company to run. I have a daughter to raise." "And us?" "There is no us. There never was." The words came out harsher than she intended, but pain spoke louder than reason. When she got home, Emma ran to hug her as always. "Mommy, why are you sad?" "Mommy had a difficult day at work." "Are you going to be okay?" Elena hugged her daughter tightly. I will, my love. Mommy always gets okay. But for the first time in a long time, she wasn't sure if it was true. 2 weeks had passed since Elena left the company. Mornings were the worst. Waking up with nowhere to go, no defined purpose, just the emptiness of a routine that had become precious and now no longer existed. She was in Mrs. Tanaka's kitchen, helping prepare lunch when the Japanese lady observed her with concern. You need to leave the house, girl. Staying here brooding won't solve anything. I'm looking for a job. I sent resumes to 20 companies this week. And responses? 3 polite rejections. The rest didn't even respond. Elena sighed, stirring the rice mechanically. The truth was that Patricia had fulfilled her threat. Her network of contacts in the corporate world ensured that doors closed one by one. Maybe I should go back to being a housekeeper. At least it was honest work. All work is honest, said Mrs. Tanaka. But you can't give up what you conquered. I didn't conquer anything. It was all illusion. It was merit. And nobody can take that away from you. Emma ran into the kitchen holding a drawing. Mommy, I made a drawing of our new house. Elena looked at the paper. It was a big, colorful house with a garden and many windows. How beautiful, my love. But why new house? Because Aunt Tanaka said that sometimes we need to move to grow. Elena looked at Mrs. Tanaka, who shrugged with a discreet smile. Children hear everything. That afternoon the phone rang. It was Robert. Elena, how are you? Surviving. So, how are things? Tense. Marcus is different. Closed, irritated with everything. Patricia temporarily took over your functions and is loving it. And the Japanese contracts? Complicated. The new interpreter doesn't understand anything about cultural protocol. Yamada-san has already complained twice. Elena felt a pang of satisfaction, followed by remorse. Robert, can I ask you a favor? Of course. Do you know anyone who needs a freelance translator? I can't get a permanent job, but I can work per project. Actually, maybe I do. There's an NGO that works with elderly Japanese immigrants. They always need help with documents, medical appointments. That would be perfect. I'll pass along your contact. But Elena, the pay isn't like at the company. I know, but it's a start. 2 days later, Elena was in downtown Chicago, in a small but welcoming room at the Cultural Bridge NGO. The coordinator, a middle-aged woman named Carol, explained the work. Many elderly Japanese here in America have difficulties with bureaucracies, medical appointments, legal issues. They need someone who doesn't just translate but understands the cultural context. When can I start? Today, if you want. We have Mr. Tanaka waiting for a week to resolve a problem with Social Security. Elena spent the afternoon helping the elderly man understand the pension documents. The gratitude in his eyes reminded her why she had fallen in love with the work of bridging cultures. Thank you very much, miss. You reminded me of my granddaughter. On the way home, Elena felt different. Lighter. The work paid little, but had meaning. When she arrived, she found Mrs. Tanaka on the porch drinking tea. How was it? Good. Different, but good. I feel like I'm making a difference in people's lives. Sometimes we lose a door to find a better window. That night after Emma fell asleep, Elena sat down to organize finances. The budget would be tight, very tight. She would have to cut expenses, maybe move to a cheaper place. The phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. Hello? Elena? It's Marcus. Her heart raced and stopped at the same time. Hi. How are you? Fine. Working. I heard you're at an NGO. Robert has a loose tongue. Elena, I wanted to talk to you, in person. I don't think it's a good idea. Please. Just 5 minutes. She closed her eyes, fighting against the impulse to accept. Marcus, what happened, happened. We can't change it. We can try to fix it. Some things can't be fixed. Good night. She hung up the phone with trembling hands. Mrs. Tanaka appeared in the living room as if she had sensed her distress. Was it him? It was. And what is your heart saying? That it hurts. But that maybe it's better this way. Or maybe not. Elena looked at Emma's photo on the coffee table. Mrs. Tanaka, I need to think only about her now. I can't afford to dream of impossibilities. And who said it's impossible? Reality. The world. The difference between our lives. Mrs. Tanaka sat beside her. When I met Kenji, my family said it was impossible. He was poor, I was a merchant's daughter. But true love has the power to transform impossibilities into miracles. What if it's not true love? Then you'll discover that too, but not by giving up without trying. Elena hugged the woman who raised her. What would I do without you? You'll never need to find out. I'm here forever. That night, Elena stayed awake for a long time, looking at the stars through the window and wondering if she was making the right decision by keeping Marcus away, or if she was wasting the only real chance of happiness that had ever appeared in her life. 1 month had passed since Marcus's call. Elena had established herself in the NGO routine, working 3 days a week and supplementing income with freelance translations. Life was simpler, but there was a peace she hadn't felt in a while. That Friday morning, she was helping Mrs. Yamamoto with medical documents when Carol appeared in the room. "Elena, there's someone here wanting to talk to you." "With me?" "Who?" "A businessman. He said it's urgent." Elena's heart accelerated. Could it be Marcus? She followed Carol to reception and stopped surprised. It was Yamada-san, the Japanese executive from the meeting that changed her life. "Yamada-san, what a surprise to see you here." He bowed respectfully. "Martinez-san, excuse me for bothering you. I got your contact through an acquaintance." "It's no bother, how can I help you? May I speak privately?" Elena led him to an empty room. Yamada-san seemed embarrassed. "Martinez-san, I heard you no longer work at Thompson Industries." "That's true. May I ask why?" Elena hesitated. How to explain without seeming to speak badly of the former company? There were personal differences with management. Yamada-san nodded slowly. "I understand. Martinez-san, I need to be direct. Our partnership with Thompson is complicated." "I'm sorry to hear that. The new interpreter doesn't understand our culture. There have been misunderstandings, poorly explained contracts. My boss in Tokyo is considering canceling all agreements." Elena felt a tightness in her chest. She knew how much those contracts meant to the company. "Yamada-san, I'm sure they can resolve." "Martinez-san," he interrupted her. "You saved our first meeting. You didn't just translate but built bridges. That's why I'm here. I don't understand. We want to hire you directly, as intercultural consultant for Osaka Motors in America." Elena blinked, processing the words. "How so?" "Better salary than your old job. Your own office. Freedom to work with other Japanese companies too." The proposal was surreal. Yamada-san continued. "Martinez-san demonstrated something rare. Japanese soul and American heart. That's valuable to us. I need to think." "Of course. But we decided not to continue with Thompson without you. With you as independent consultant, we'll renew all contracts." Elena felt dizzy. Their decision would financially destroy Marcus's company. "Yamada-san, can I suggest an alternative?" "Of course. What if I returned temporarily to facilitate the transition? Train the new interpreter adequately?" "You would do that, even after personal differences?" "I would do it for everyone's good." Yamada-san smiled for the first time. "That's why we respect you, Martinez-san. But our offer remains. Think kindly about it." That afternoon, Elena arrived home disturbed. The proposal would change everything: financial security, professional recognition, independence. But it also meant indirectly interfering in Marcus's life. "Did something happen?" asked Mrs. Tanaka. Elena told about Yamada-san's visit, about the proposal, about the dilemma. "And what do you want to do?" "I don't know. It's an incredible opportunity, but it involves Marcus. If I accept, the Japanese renew contracts with me as independent consultant. If I don't accept, they cancel everything and Marcus loses millions. And if you return temporarily, I can train someone adequately, save the contracts, and then leave without hurting anyone." Mrs. Tanaka studied her with wise eyes. "You're thinking about protecting the man who couldn't protect you? I'm thinking about doing what's right, and what's right for you." Before she could answer, the phone rang. It was Robert, agitated. "Elena, did you hear? The Japanese are canceling everything. Marcus is desperate, the company could go bankrupt." "Robert, he doesn't know I'm calling, but You're the only one who can solve this. Why? They specifically asked for you. They said they'll only renew if you're involved. Elena closed her eyes. Fate was forcing a decision. Robert, can you schedule a meeting? Me, Marcus, and the Japanese? Seriously? You're going to help? I'm going to do the right thing. After hanging up, Mrs. Tanaka observed her. Are you sure? No. But sometimes doing the right thing isn't about certainty. It's about courage. And after? After we'll see if some bridges can be rebuilt, or if it's better to let them collapse. The meeting was scheduled for Monday at 10 o'clock, at the same hotel where it all began. Elena arrived punctually, wearing the same navy blue business suit from the first time. She felt different, more mature, more sure of herself. Robert was waiting for her in the lobby. Are you sure about this? I am. How is he? Nervous. Hasn't slept properly for a week. The company is really at risk. They went up together to the conference room. When the door opened, Elena saw Marcus with his back turned, looking out the window. He turned when he heard footsteps and their eyes met. For a moment, time stopped. He seemed thinner, with deep, dark circles, but his eyes remained the same. Elena, Marcus, thank you for coming. I'm here for the contracts, not for you. The words came out harsher than she intended, but she needed to maintain emotional distance. Yamada-san and his team arrived minutes later. The greetings were cordial, but tense. Yamada-san, Elena began. I understand there are problems with current contracts. Yes, Martinez-san. Many misunderstandings. We miss your cultural sensitivity. Marcus spoke. Yamada-san, we can resolve any issue. Our partnership is too valuable to... Thompson-san, Yamada-san interrupted respectfully. Problem is not technical, it's human. Martinez-san understood our soul. New interpreter understands only words. Elena took a deep breath. Yamada-san, can I make a proposal? How about I adequately train the current interpreter? Ensure he understands not just the language, but cultural protocols. Martinez-san would return to company? Temporarily, just to facilitate the transition. Martinez-san, would you do that? Even after personal differences? I would do it for everyone's good. Yamada-san quickly conversed with his colleagues in Japanese. Elena caught the positive tone of the discussion. Martinez-san, we accept your proposal. But with condition, you supervise all future contracts as independent intercultural consultant. How so? You don't work for Thompson or for us. You work as bridge between companies. Salary paid by both sides. The solution was perfect. Elena would have professional independence, the Japanese would have the cultural consultancy they needed, and Marcus would keep the contracts. I accept. Terms were discussed for 2 hours. When the Japanese left, satisfied, Elena and Marcus were alone in the room. Why did you do this? He asked. Because it was the right thing to do. Even after everything that happened, it wasn't you who hurt me, Marcus. It was the system. The difference between our worlds. He approached slowly. What if I said I want to eliminate that difference? How? By marrying you. Elena felt the ground move under her feet. What? I'm serious. Marry you, publicly assume our relationship, show everyone I don't care about social differences. Marcus, I love you, Elena. I discovered that when I lost you. The words she had dreamed of hearing finally came, but didn't bring the expected joy. And I'm going to believe it's love, not gratitude for me saving your contracts. You know it's not that. Do I? How can I be sure it's not just the situation, the adrenaline, the relief? Marcus fell silent for a moment. What can I do to prove it? Nothing. Some things aren't proven, they're felt. And I need to feel that it's real. How much time do you need? I don't know. Maybe a lot. Maybe never. I can wait. Don't ask that. You deserve someone who's sure. I'm sure for both of us. Elena picked up her purse, ready to leave. We start working together on Wednesday, as professionals. And as people who respect each other, but who need to discover if there's still something beyond respect. At the door, she turned. Marcus? Yes? Thank you for giving me the original opportunity. It changed my life. You changed mine. Elena left the room with her heart divided between hope and fear. Maybe some stories deserved a happy ending. Or maybe some stories were beautiful precisely because they had no defined ending. Only time would tell which one theirs was. 2 months passed since Elena resumed work as independent consultant. The new dynamic worked well. She divided her time between Thompson's office, meetings with Japanese clients, and the NGO, which she maintained for love of social work. Her relationship with Marcus had found a respectful professional balance, but personal conversations were carefully avoided. He kept his promise to give time and space, but she felt the weight of his gaze whenever they were in the same room. That Friday, Elena was finalizing reports when Robert appeared, visibly agitated. "Elena, you need to know something." "What happened?" "It's about Patricia, and about what really happened at the board meeting." Elena's stomach contracted. "Robert, I discovered by accident. I was organizing some old server files and found emails. Patricia and Adrienne planned everything months ago." "Planned what?" "To get you out of the company. They knew Marcus was getting interested in you and orchestrated the situation to force you out." Elena felt her blood freeze. "How so?" "Patricia investigated your life, discovered about Mrs. Tanaka, about Emma. They used this information to create the narrative that you were an opportunist. Adrienne wanted to prevent Marcus from getting seriously involved with someone. Why? Because of the divorce. If Marcus remarried, she would lose some rights over the company. It was her financial interest to keep him single." Elena sat heavily in the chair. It had all been a setup. "There's more," Robert continued. "They also sabotaged your applications to other jobs. Patricia called her contacts, spreading rumors about your professional conduct." Anger grew in Elena's chest, but along with it came a clarity she hadn't felt in months. "Where are these emails?" "I printed copies. I thought you should know the truth." "Does Marcus know this?" "Not yet. I thought you should decide if you want to tell him." Elena took the email copies and read every word. The coldness of the plan, the calculated manipulation, the cruelty with which they had played with her and Emma's lives. "Robert, where is Marcus now?" "In his office." "Why?" "Because it's time for some truths to come to light." Elena knocked on Marcus's office door and entered without waiting for an answer. He looked up from the documents, surprised. "Elena? Did something happen?" "Yes. I discovered the truth about what really happened to me." She placed the printed emails on his desk. Marcus read in silence, his expression changing from confusion to incredulity, then to fury. "Is this true?" Robert found it on the company server. "Patricia and Adrienne, they planned everything. From the beginning. They sabotaged my departure, my reputation, my chances of getting another job." Marcus stood up, running his hands through his hair. "My God, Elena, I didn't know. If I had known..." "You would have done what?" "I would have defended you. I would have faced the board, Adrienne, all of them. But you didn't know. And when I left, you didn't fight for me. Because I thought it was best for you, that you would be better off away from all this confusion." Elena looked him in the eyes. "Or because it was easier to accept that I had given up than to face the system that allowed this to happen." Marcus stopped walking, hit by the truth of the words. "You're right. I was a coward. I let them take you away because it was less complicated for me. And now? Now I'm going to fix this. Patricia will be fired today. I'm going to sue Adrienne for defamation and interference in company business. It's not about them, Marcus. It's about us." "How so?" "During these months, I wondered if what I felt for you was real or gratitude. Now I know it was real. But I also know you don't really know me." "How so?" "You fell in love with the idea of saving me. With the housekeeper who spoke Japanese, with the romantic story of social ascension. But not with me." "That's not true." "Yes, it is. If you really knew me, you would know I would never give up a fight without fighting. You would know I'm not the type of person who runs when things get difficult." Marcus fell silent, processing the words. "You're right. I didn't know you. But I want to know. And I want to be known. Not idealized, not saved, not protected. Known. How do we do that? We start from zero, as equals. Without power differences, without hierarchies, without romantic salvation stories. Would you give me that chance? If you're willing to see me as I really am, not as who you'd like me to be." Marcus approached slowly. "Elena Martinez, independent intercultural consultant, Emma's mother, Mrs. Tanaka's granddaughter of the heart, strongest woman I've ever known. Would you accept having dinner with me tonight? As two adults who want to get to know each other better? For the first time in months, Elena smiled genuinely. I accept, but I pay my part of the bill. Deal. And for the first time, she felt that maybe, finally, they were starting something real. 6 months later, Elena parked in front of the small electronics store and smiled seeing the new sign, Kenji Electronics, Mrs. Tanaka owner. With the consultancy's stability, she had managed to renovate the establishment. She entered and found Mrs. Tanaka organizing old radios with Emma sitting on the floor, helping with seriousness. "Mommy!" Emma ran to hug her. "Grandma Tanaka and I are fixing Mr. Johnson's radio." "Emma has fairy hands for electronics," said Mrs. Tanaka, "just like you had." "Marcus should arrive soon," said Elena. "Is he coming for dinner again?" "He is, but today is special." The door opened, and Marcus entered with grocery bags. "Good evening, family." In recent months, he had become a constant presence, not as a rich businessman visiting, but as someone who genuinely cared about every detail of daily life. During dinner, while Emma taught Marcus to use chopsticks, Elena observed with a warm heart. This was real family. "Mrs. Tanaka," said Marcus after they finished, "may I ask for your blessing?" The lady looked at him with interest. "Of course, my son." Marcus stood up and knelt on the floor of the small living room. "Elena Martinez," he said in perfect Japanese, "you taught me that true love isn't the one that saves, but the one that builds together." Elena felt her eyes fill with tears. "You showed me that family isn't blood or money, but presence and care. That courage is doing right even when afraid." He took a small box from his pocket. "Boku wa anata no kokoro o mamorimasu, zuto." "I will protect your heart, forever." Emma clapped. Mrs. Tanaka smiled with tears in her eyes. "Elena Martinez, do you accept building with me a life where our differences are our strength?" Elena looked around the small living room, the store where a lost girl had found shelter on a rainy afternoon, where she had learned that family is chosen. "I accept, but with one condition, that the ceremony be here, with only our real family." Marcus smiled, putting on the ring. It couldn't be in a better place. 3 months later, the ceremony was simple and perfect. Some friends from the NGO, Robert Yamada-san, who came from Japan, and chosen family, Mrs. Tanaka, Emma, dear neighbors. Emma carried flowers from the backyard. Mrs. Tanaka read a text about love that Kenji had written, and the couple exchanged simple but profound vows. Now, 6 months after the wedding, Elena was returning from work when the phone rang. "Mom!" It was Emma, now 6 years old. "Daddy Marcus said today has a surprise." Daddy Marcus had emerged naturally when Emma decided she wanted to have a father. "What surprise?" "I can't tell, but you need to come soon." At home, she found Marcus and Emma in the backyard holding a sign. Santos Thompson Intercultural Consulting, building bridges between cultures. "Our own business?" "Equal partners," said Marcus. "You with cultural experience, me with business contacts. Together we can help more companies and immigrants." Elena looked at the sign, at her husband, at proud Emma, at Mrs. Tanaka in the window. She had started as a housekeeper who spoke Japanese. Now she was a businesswoman, wife, mother, and above all, a woman who knew where she belonged. Not because someone had given her a place, but because she had built that place with her own hands. Emma ran to hug her. "Mommy, are you crying from happiness?" "I am, my love, because I discovered that the best endings aren't where someone saves us, but where we learn we were always strong enough." There, in the backyard of the simple but love-filled house, Elena knew her story wasn't about fairy tales. It was about something more powerful. The discovery that true love, for ourselves, for our family, for our dreams, has the power to transform any beginning into a happy ending.